Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and get this out of the way. I'm having some recording issues, so if you are catching this on a replay, it could be that you're hearing me, and there is a delay on me. It's where you see me. However, I'm somebody who's relentless. We still gonna go through with the information because the information is so great that I'm delayed in my face, and me verbally is talking. So we gonna go ahead and get going. This video right here is about how to go past being broken. Like when things don't go your way, how do you get past that? Why am I stuck? Why am I here? Some people have had, so I'll just speak specifically to our teams. Maybe somebody in your team was working and y'all was doing what y'all needed to do. Now they're gone. That's pretty frustrating to you. Or maybe there was really a life event that happened. There was this real life event. Everything was going perfectly good for you. And then all of a sudden, boom, crises happen. And now I can't seem to get past it. Like I'm stuck. I'm here and I know how to shift and move into another area. So I posted a bit of my story. That's one of the reasons why too I shared with y'all. I was kind of paused because I really wanted to do a self-check with myself and say, are you ready to do this? Are you ready to share to help somebody else? And I had to make sure of that. And those are things in which I teach just in my life sessions about always self-check you first. So this is a different training. This isn't the one about how to run your business. This is the one about the person that shows up to the business. So always self-check you. Am I okay? Am I not? Do I need to take a nap? Do I need to function in a different space? So that's what I did. So in telling this story, there's a lot of things in which I've had to go through. So when I listen to people sometimes, or they'll go, oh, you don't know, or you haven't been through, I'll go, no, what you probably don't realize is you're sitting in front of somebody that's been through a lot. However, just constantly overcoming. And there are some things in which have been learned to be able to push and propel that forward. So as I dropped in the story, me myself come from a family of entrepreneurs, which happens when you come from a family of entrepreneurs, you have and people who are so self-developed, you have a high level of expectations of everything. You're supposed to get the dishes done well, your bed's supposed to be done well, everything, all of that is supposed to happen. And in that, growing up as a young child, not understanding, like kids only understand what they learn. We're a product of our environment and what we see. So me growing up in that facet always caused people to, I would hear the things of, she thinks she's better than. And I didn't even know what the heck that meant. You know, and I was we grew up in the projects. I don't know if people know what that is. Or some people don't know, maybe you heard of it now. We grew up in the projects where I come from teen parents. And I didn't know at that time frame, they kept us in church. And I couldn't go, anybody had to come in with you know how now, like, I don't understand why kids can stay out late, but my indicator for me to come in the house was the light bulbs. Like, you see that street light or the little light, the bulb, the little, what do they call? The little flicking light. When you start seeing them lights, you know that your playtime is over. Like, you need to take your whole butt home. So I was still within those parameters, but even had a shorter leash at that time and not understanding, you know, we all get these designs of life and they really kind of shape and mold who you are. You don't have to stay, but they shape. That these are the things in which you see. They're your life, right? And so I didn't know. I can only go from this house to this house. I didn't even understand at that time when I was younger that we was in the projects. I didn't know, or I didn't know. I didn't understand any of that. So what my parents did, they kept me in jazz, ballet, tap, dance, singing. They were like, you are going to be so busy. You don't have any time for anything else. I understood that now, or being older, but I didn't understand that back then. Okay. So what that caused in my environment was people I don't know if y'all remember, there used to be the light skin, dark skin thing. I was the light girl in an area full of dark girls, and I didn't even know the difference in that. And I was picked on, bullied, gum in the hair, haircut. There used to be fights, and I'm thinking, who fighting? You know, is somebody fighting at 2:30? Oh no, boo, that's you. It's you. They're gonna fight you, and I had no idea. A lot of the people in which I was fighting, I didn't even know who they were. I didn't even know why. Later on, come to find out it was because I had, and they didn't. But I didn't understand that at that time. So what they did is pull me in a shell. And pulling me in a shell allowed me to stop. Y'all see how outgoing and talking? I want you to see this as inspiration. I ain't talked to nobody. I was quiet as a mouse. It taught me that when I speak or when I'm going around, I thought I had to be quiet because that was the only way people would leave me alone. And so I want you to listen to some things. I was paying attention to the environment around me. So even though I was this bubbly child, tap, dance, ballet, singing, jazz, everything arts, my environment, when I started to pay attention to my environment around me, I was then letting the environment tell me I had to be quiet. And then when I was quiet, people would leave me alone. So I went outward, started paying attention to them. And as that started to happen, did that stop them? No, it didn't. As a matter of fact, it pulled me so far away from being able to stand up for myself that there were time frames in which I would just let it happen. And then in letting it happen, my dad put me in Taekwondo, became a black belt so I could be able to defend myself. And in defending myself, I then inwardly started to feel a little bit strong, but outwardly was like, no, that's not safe. That's not safe to keep on being around these people like that. That's not safe. So keep being quiet. Keep being quiet. So as I continued to keep growing on up, as my freshman year came by, I met a girl who met me in the parking lot with a razor blade and told me that I thought I was better than everybody else and tried to cut me in my face. That was the moments that we have. I'm telling you, at that point, I was like, I don't do girls. I cannot stand them. They get on my nerves. They're evil. Don't talk to them. Beat them up if you can. Run from them. So from my freshman year to my senior year in high school, I do not have a high school friend. Not at all. There is not a girl. There are people that know me from high school. So that's when people be like, oh, they said they kicked it. I always, you don't even know how I blink and go, I don't have any friends. But how it happened was I then became prom queen, captain of the cheerleading team, went down state for track. I mean, just everything I could possibly do to just kind of keep myself to myself, to get my own level of accolades, but not really be around others. And that was how I lived. That was how I went. So when I graduated high school, I thought, great, I'm out of the kiddie years. You know what I mean? Like kids are cruel or whatever they need. I'm done. I could just go be. And so I started to open up and I started to talk. And I started to talk to people when I went off to college. And I remember now I do still have a college friend. And I started to finally open up my mouth and I started to talk to people. And I was like, okay, it's high school. It's whatever. And then I got met with again. She thinks she better than. Well, I was in a modeling group. I always took care of myself. I was taught that as a woman, you take care of yourself. You comb your hair. You get up in the morning. So now here I am with a different set of people now all being judged. And I was like, oh my God, so y'all crazy too? I thought it was just high school. So in college, you crazy too? Oh, okay, so I shut down. And I started not talking to anybody. And now I then became the girl, you know how they say RBF, I started to have the resting bitch face. I started to walk around. I wouldn't say anything to anybody. I would not talk to anybody because guess what? I can't trust the world. Like y'all crazy. I just need to stay to myself. And then I spent another 4 years by myself. I have that one friend. I know y'all looking like how? Now I got a large following, right? One friend still to this day. That was 20 years ago. Now I have more, but from that time frame, just one. Fast forward into my adult life. Now I'm a mom. I have small kids, and my business is. I'm like, I done left my corporate job. Y'all walked away from a $60,000 job to be an entrepreneur. Don't do it. No plan of action. I'm not telling you don't leave your job and go into something, but I had no plan of action, no savings, no nothing. Just like, I am woman, hear me roar. I'm going to make it. God going to see me through, which he has. But ain't nobody tell you not to have a safety net before you do anything. So then I struggled. And as I struggled and I had small kids, it became very difficult to be able to function, shopping out of parents' freezer. It was just very interesting at that time frame. It really was. As an entrepreneur, as a starter entrepreneur. And I wasn't treating my business like a business. I was treating my business like something that I needed to make money with. It wasn't a business. It was just something I needed to make money with. And it wasn't until I talked to my dad, and I remember being in tears going, why isn't this working? Maybe I should go back and get a job. And it shocked me when my sister told me, my dad kind of gave her the same advice. He was like, no, the biggest problem you're having is you don't treat your business like a business. You treat it like it's supposed to pay ComEd, so then you do the work required to pay ComEd. You got NICOR, and you do the work that's needed to take care of that, but you never stick around longer for anything to occur. So that's why you can't grow from where you are. And I go, oh, wow. Now keep in mind, at this time, I have a background in marketing and psych, but life is different than your degree. It is. Life will teach you something totally different than what you learned in that book. So I started to push, and I started to take those things into consideration. And he was like, you really got to, if this is what you want to do, you got to learn. You have to structure yourself. You got to go learn how to be in the business that you're trying to be in. He was like, okay, so you do hair. You do hair. Well, what's special about hair? I was like, what do you mean? How does hair grow? What is it? Get into it. And I was like, but ain't no money. Like, I got to make money. He was like, oh, so you think that you're going to make money just doing things. You're not going to make money until you understand what you're doing. That's what pushed me into education. I was like, okay. So then I started to learn about hair. How does it grow? What does it do? And then I started to consult people differently. And as I started to consult those people differently, guys, my chair grew. Like, when I tell you, I went from making $14,400, then I went on up to 24, and I thought I was like balling, $24,000 balling, right? But in my land at that point in time, when I was making $14,400, that was huge. Then went from $24,000 and shot up to $40,000. So now I'm going, yay! Oh my God, I'm doing something. And then guess who returned? Hate. And when I say hate, I mean people who were close to me. There was a girl that was in my bridal party that ended up, I had not finished going to school. I always tell people I'm going to have a foundation where I'm able to give to some mom. I want to be able to put her through school when she is working, because y'all don't know, to get a cosmetology license, you have to work. You go to school from 9 to 5. You go to school from 9 to 5. So when do you work? I have kids. How am I supposed to do this? How is it supposed to function? This isn't right. So I didn't have a license. So as I wasn't working, the girl who was in my bridal party, her husband was my daughter's godfather. She called the state on me. So she tried to end it all. $40,000, finally got myself together, tried to end it all. And I'm like, okay, I'm just now getting my head above water. Now you're trying to take it all? And I remember when the guy came in from the state and he asked for licenses. And then we go to the back room and he's saying, I need to see everybody's license. And I went, at this point, if you take it, I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm tired. I'm frustrated. Like, I've been going through this stuff now for my whole life. This is frustrating. So as he walked into my room, there was a picture of me, and I had a private room in the salon. So I was doing very well. And I had a private room in the salon. Now we have salon suites. You ain't had that. A stylist in a private room was like having the Ritz. We had a private room. He comes up back, he sees a picture of me and Paris Hilton. He said, wait, who is that? So he's like giving me, I don't have my stuff, so he's giving me the 3rd degree. And he goes, what's that? And I said, that's me and Paris Hilton. He says, you do her? I said, yes. He took his hand, he shut the door. He said, oh, I see what this is. And he said, have you went to school? I said, sir, I have went to school and I cannot afford to pay it off. Everything that I make, I have to take care of my kids. At this time, I have 3 kids. I'm under 30. Okay. I'm like, listen, I went to work. I couldn't even work on Saturday. I would get my kids to the daycare at 6 in the morning, show up at the salon at 6:30, work everybody till 5:30 so I can get out and go pick them up. I couldn't even work the night. So I was like, I can't. I can't. I just cannot afford it. And he was like, what can you afford? I said, at this point, I'm not even really sure, because I wasn't even budgeting. I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. He said, what I'm going to do, I showed him the name of the school. I won't say this because this is recorded. And he was like, this school owes me something. He said, I'm going to call them. And I said, really? He said, what was your grades? I go right in my bag and I open up the thing. I had not had anything less than a 98% in that folder. And I was 100% on technical. Nothing. And so he was like, oh, wow. I was like, yes. He was like, can you pass the test? I was like, with flying colors. He called the school. I go to the school to make a payment. The guy told me I didn't owe anything. Go take the test and pass. Now, at that moment, y'all, I was going back to work. Because I had even too got to the point where I think it's either 7 years or 8 years. I had got to the point where if you didn't get the license, Melissa probably knows this, if you don't get the license at this point, you have to start over. So I was right there on the cusp. So I was going back. Y'all went on in, I got my license. And then when I got my license, I'll fast forward. Oh yeah, I showed her that license. I walked right on, she worked in my salon. I walked right on over to, I framed that bad boy. I framed it and I sat it down and I told her, thank you. That's interesting. I told her, thank you. And I told her if it was not for her, I would have went back to work. I didn't see any other out. I didn't see anything else. So thank you. All right. It must be more fire. I told her thank you. And then I went on from that $40,000 year. The next year I did $150,000. The next year. And kept going from there. And I cannot keep on going. And then the next year I opened up a 4,000 square foot salon. I was under 30 years old. And my first client, I hate to tell y'all this because of the stigma, but my client was R. Kelly in my new space. And I was referred on off and my career took off. And next thing you know, I was in LA. If y'all remember the game, I was working with Drew Sidora. I'm just everywhere. And I'm from Chicago. And at that time frame, hey man, if you went to LA or New York, you don't get those gigs. And I was just like, oh my God. But what I did not know was how to manage my business. I was a talent, but I didn't understand now with this new growth, you needed to manage differently, right? So when I needed to manage, when I didn't understand how to be able to manage differently, I'm on the plane, I'm coming back, I have 3 kids, they're small, I'm married, I have a husband, I'm trying to balance and I'm losing my freaking mind and I'm steady gaining weight and I'm just, I got a blessing, but then I got a whole new season that I wasn't prepared for. Not at all. And I was reared in the church, but I wasn't going to church at that time. So there was no spiritual. I had been going through personal development since the time I was 15 years old. So I had a little bit of knowledge of you stay in the game, you run the race, you don't have to give into karma of others. I had those things in my head, but I couldn't put them all together. And again, I'm under 30. So here I am with all these levels of successes. And then I get to the point where my business takes in, and I shared that with you, over $600,000. When you don't know how to manage $600,000, you run through $600,000. Just so you know, you have no clue. It just goes. And I didn't even know at that time frame. I just knew that I had it, and I was buying additional things, and I was putting products out on the wall, and I was just leaving them. I was just buying and moving and shifting and saying, it's here, y'all go get it. And then I was shared with, somebody sat me in my office and was like, Trayce. And I said, yes. She said, you have to start paying more attention. I said, pay attention to what? She said, have you ever count your bundles up? And I said, what? She said, you're missing some. Have you ever caught your thread? Count your thread? You're missing it. Have you ever counted your, now this is a client. Have you counted your relaxer? It's gone. I said, what? She said, such and such is taking your stuff and doing it outside of. She is moving your business elsewhere. What? Now, I didn't work hard. I felt like I was in whatever. Like I had everything that was shipped, that torn. And now you're telling me that this is gone? Like, what? Are you kidding? Then I start going through and looking and calling people. And I hadn't had my eyes on my business. So I start calling people and seeing what they were doing. And come to find out, people weren't answering my calls. What do you mean you don't answer my call? What? Why? I had no idea. Well, this person right underneath me, because I was not paying attention nor running my business at that time frame, was telling this other story to them, a sob story, making them think one thing versus the other. And she was yanking my business right underneath me. Yanking it. And that anger that I had been holding on to for all those years came back with a vengeance at that point. Because now I had it. No, I had absolutely had it. It was not a pretty sight. I went into hiding. I closed the business because at that time she had took this from me, so the business was gone. So I closed the business. I went into a small space. I wouldn't put my name. I went into an office building. I went from a 4,000 square foot space to a 700 square foot space. And I wouldn't put my name on the building. I did not advertise. I did not market. I didn't want nobody to know where I was. I shut myself off from everybody for probably a couple years. Just shut myself off. And when I shut myself off, I was like, okay, the only space you need a small space so you can see everything. And in that time frame, that's when I continuously started to gain weight and put more and more on. And then next thing you know, there's stress, there's anxiety, there's depression, there's now a new prescription for Xanax. Now we're just slowly rolling up out of here, because why am I here now? Like I did all of that to get there, and then you still can't trust. You know, you can't. Like it's just nothing on the other side. Like you can't. So, and that's still a hard say. So I kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing to just kind of stay above water, like just mentally, because at this point now you don't trust anybody, even those around you. I have very minuscule of friends. There's nobody in which I want to confide in. And I'm really slowly rolling back and losing myself. Now I don't trust in my abilities anymore. Now there is no building of no brands. There's no nothing. There's no whatever. And again, I wasn't going to church. I wasn't going. So I wasn't hearing the whole, you are better than. I wasn't hearing none of that. And these were slow thoughts that I was starting to reel back in my head of, okay, maybe I pushed too far. You know, like maybe I went too far. Maybe I should have stopped here, and then that wouldn't have happened to me. Maybe if I would have been a better person, maybe if I would have talked to them just a little bit more, maybe if I didn't get on that plane, like maybe if I didn't keep going to LA and further in my career, maybe if I would have just stayed at home. All these coulda, woulda, shoulda stories. Everything that was going through my brain at that point was actually really taking me out. And it wasn't until then I was shared with a course for life coaching. And I was like, who, me? I ain't doing that thing right. So then when I took that, I was like, okay, as I started to read through it, I realized as what I'm reading right now has everything to do with me. Like if I can take this, maybe I can self-fix. Maybe I can heal. Maybe I can change some things that are actually going on. So every exercise in which I was doing, because y'all know now I love education, right? Love education. So now everything that I learned, maybe I can apply. Maybe I can be a better person so this won't happen again. Maybe I can. It was a problem with me. I was broken. It was me. It wasn't them. It was me. Well, in those things, fast forward, had to tell you that so you'll understand what you're about to hear. Fast forward to the end, y'all, that 275 came off 130. 130 pounds off. Rebuilt the brand. Took the brand past where I was to a 7-figure brand. Multiple times have we done 7 figures in the brand. Created a product line, extension line, I have numerous friends. I have numerous friends. I'm probably, if y'all notice, I give everything away more than anything. Like I'll be like, okay, don't hold on to something. Just give it away, teach it, go do whatever you can do. Probably one of the most passionate educators you'll come across. Doesn't mean I'm the only, but I'm very passionate at what I do. I then started to teach business development for L'Oreal. Created my own extension education system too as well. And then got my celebrity work all the way on up to Michelle Williams of Destiny's Child. Consistently, consistent work, consistent check. And then 7-figured the brand again. Just kept on going, kept on doing whatever. When I walked away from that brand, it was because I knew I had given everything, because I've walked away from that style of brand. I still have my brand. But last year when I came into this company, I didn't understand necessarily why, because all the stories in which I had heard thus far were I didn't have, and now I've been able to get. And I struggled for a very long time thinking, well, what is my story? Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Like, why did you place me here in this business? I'm not sure. And I came into the business and I started doing the same thing that I normally do. I promoted. If anybody's followed my story, I promoted very quickly. I promoted 3 times in a month. I went diamond in 3 months. I went double in 5. I don't remember sometimes the benchmarks. And then now here a year later at triple, and now pushing for Trayce. Right? So I'm steady, constantly going. And then it happened where I realized I started hearing different things, seeing different things. And I was like, oh, shoot, is that back? Not necessarily here in the company, just period. Because see, now I have a large following. So when you have a large following, to whom much is given, much is required. A whole bunch of people got things to say about why you flipped this. Or maybe, oh, everything wasn't great. Is that why she shifted here? Not knowing, I just really wanted to be at home. I'm tired. Been doing the same thing for 20 years. I'm tired. I'm ready to grow in a different season. But then why here? And then I started hearing things here that sounded so similar to things in which I had been through in the business. I trained this person. I did this with this. They left. They took this. They didn't do this. I got to this level. They're gone. I was like, oh, wow. This is a lot. Like, for real, this is a lot. This sounds similar. But then as I was bracing myself for that, I realized in those seasons, man, when you have gone through something, you don't do it the same when you see it again. It doesn't happen. And then even now, as I sat here behind, so I explained to you all something in private. As I sat behind, I even took a confianza, and I was like, you're preparing because you know how bad that season was, but it's not like that anymore. Like, I was like, okay, maybe I'll cry. Do I shut the whole Zoom down? I don't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. However, now even in sharing these seasons, and there's more, you know what I mean? When somebody tells you something that's gone bad, you have to know there's other layers that's underneath there, so much more. So to now be sitting here with you telling you that I know my ministry is in women, I'm helping women. I want you to see that as a level of inspiration. See that as a level of inspiration that wherever you're going right now and when you're broken is, it can be fixed. It can be fixed, but you got to know how. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you these 5 dang on things I did, because I feel like sometimes we listen to those stories, right? And then we get inspired and we go, oh my God, I'm going to be better. But then how? Like, how now do I get to the other side? So here comes the nuggets. Number 1, when problems are occurring to you, and this is something I had to learn, see it as it is. See the problem for what it is. Do not see it as worse than what it is. Meaning, when I quit that and she was yanking everything from me, guess what my heart and everything was said? She took half. She took half of what I had. Oh my God, I got to start over. People ain't going to see me the same. They're going to be trying to figure out for me what it is that, how do I face them? Well, guess what? That was in my head. That wasn't what was really happening. at that time frame. What happened was the reality of the situation is I had a theft. That was it. How many businesses are broken into and they still open up the doors the next day? But you have to see the problem for what it was. I saw the worst of the problem. I created the new story in my head that wasn't really there. It wasn't there. Be careful when you see things to read them and only do the fact. So if something has happened to you, what was the fact? What occurred? What was it? Don't add an additional something to it. Don't add what you think people are going to think. Don't add what you think that they're going to say. How are you going to function? What is the future going to look like? That's not reality. That's your story. Don't give up in that season. Once you figure out what it is, don't give up. If you have a problem, and I'm reading some notes that I have because there's certain things that I really want to be able to tell you. If you have a problem right now, do not say or act out that the future is worse than the past. The future is going to be worse than the past. But see, in my mind at that time frame, I had to run away because I can't face nobody. Can't nobody see that I lost half. Can't nobody see that I can't buy these products anymore and I ain't really doing but. So I was making future worse than what it needed to be. Do not make the future worse. Because guess what? There is no coming out of or no prosperity on the other side of you thinking that there is no power. You have no power when your future is not as good as what it is right now. If you think wherever it is that you're going in front of you is going to be worse, what is going to happen is depression is going to settle. Depression is going to settle in. When you perceive that there is no breakthrough through what you are going through right now, that is when suffering occurs. It's worse. It's going to stay there. Be careful with that. Only call things as they are. Do not blow it up. Don't blow a minuscule thing up to something major. Number 2, get real with the truth and deal with it. What really just happened? What really just happened? The truth of my situation was, and I really wish I would have just did that, but I did not have the level of personal development or maturity to understand what really was occurring was I wasn't watching my business. I was getting on the plane. Remember that. I was buying things, leaving them all on out. I didn't want to take my own level of any accountability, nor look at what was really going on. Y'all, half of 600,000 is what? 3? That's not nothing. But in my mind, if you tell yourself the worst damn story, what you'll do is retreat backwards. You'll make it worse than what it is, not realizing it could be something you could come from immediately. If you assess the problem, see it for what it is, don't make it worse than what it is, and then look at the real truth and deal with it. What is the real truth here? Okay, so say for instance you have a chart. I'm going to put this here in It Works terms. Say for instance you have a chart right now, and you know you've been filling these boxes. You've been filling these boxes for I don't know how long. You haven't re-recruited. There is nobody else that's there. You have not been putting your time into your business. And then all of a sudden they say they're not going to work. Better yet, because I know some people are on here with this, better yet they leave. They go somewhere else. Somebody else takes them. And you got a whole leg that's gone. What is the reality? Reality is I didn't rebuild. I knew I was buying those boxes in them areas. I didn't do anything to go fix it. So I have to take that ownership for that. I had to take that ownership for that. I wrote this thing down that I had to tell myself often, and it was in my journal. Are you ready for this one? The truth will set you free, but it's going to piss you off first. The truth will set you free, but it'll piss you off. See, for those years that I was sitting at only 700 square feet, I never once looked at, you got to run your business better. Now, it wasn't okay what happened. I'm not going to make that okay. But I never looked at run the business better. Run the business a little bit better. Be a little bit more accountable with what you do. I never paid attention to that. Where was your systems in play for management? Why didn't you have a manager? How did you run your front desk? Where was the cameras in the place? I never looked at that. I was angry. I was pissed off. And she took half of what I had. That's all I could see. So being that that's all I saw, it was just in hell. That's all I wanted to see. I would not deal with it. I didn't want to be pissed off. I didn't want to see the situation for what it was. I was just mad. And when you're just mad and you stay in just mad, you do crazy things. You do crazy things. You can't see it for what it is. So now you're pissed off. You're creating a whole new person. Nobody potentially wants to be around you. You can't fix anything. You can't fix nothing now, because what you won't do is take a look at actually what happened, assess it, facts, deal with it, get pissed off, hit the bag, take your time down, and reboot. When I remember through this time frame, I wrote this time frame too. I remember I didn't want to deal with it because of the time frame. I had a family and I just had to take care of them. I was like, I had a family, I got to take care of them. I can't deal with this. Anybody ever said that? Like, I ain't got time to deal with this. But my level of non-deal with kept me in my strife longer than it needed to be. Because now that I'm out of it. You ever see a young teen doing something that you used to do and you be like, oh my God, don't do that. It's going to land you here, baby. That's not right. So now when I turn around and I look back, I can go back and I can self-assess the situation at that time frame. It did not have to take as long as what it did. I could have, but I didn't want to see it that way. I just wanted to move on. Number 3, how to get over it. You have to assess a new vision for whatever happened. You have to assess a new vision and get strong in the new vision. See, it wasn't until I determined that I was tired of taking pills. I was tired. Do you know that I would be rushed into the hospital with anxiety? I was at work for sometimes 16 hours or on set 18, 20 hours, and would come right on off and go into the hospital. Couldn't breathe. Everything. I was just like, this is just making no sense. This is stupid. And it was because I never put in my brain at those time frames. When I fixed this, I had to give myself a new vision. Okay, yes, you've been hurt, but how long are you going to stay hurt? It's a whole new year. It's another year. This girl that moved on, she probably ain't even thought of you. And I remember when I was better, do you know I was at a Beyonce concert, and she walked up to me and she gave me a hug. And I did not know who she was. I had totally forgotten. I'll tell you in the season, and where that's on the next one. I didn't. I was like, who is hugging me? I was very confused at that moment. And then when I pushed back and I realized what it was, and she wholeheartedly apologized to me and everything at that time frame. And I'm crying at this moment because I had forgotten. I didn't forget the season. I didn't forget when it occurred, but I did so much work on myself and setting new visions of where I was going to go that I had decided that there was no way I was staying in hell. It was a decision. This has to go. This isn't serving me any purpose. I haven't created any level of happy past this point. Everything else is just going to be bad because of this one thing that happened. It wasn't until I started to question those things. So you're just going to stay here? So what's the new vision, Trey? What do you want? This happened. This was a hiccup. What's the new vision? Okay, well, the new vision is to rebuild. Oh, you got to go trust people. Okay, do you like it in these four walls where you're not trusting? Is this the happy? Because see, you crying in private. Nobody else knows what's going on, but you can't even have an intelligent relationship with anybody else because you won't let this go. You won't let it go. It's holding on to you. So if you won't let it go, you're going to stay in hell. What's the new vision? Where are you going? That was hard. And I was like, I'm going to try it again. Like, I remember when I came to tell everybody that I was about to build a new space, they were like, what? Oh my, are you kidding? It was like, I said, I will never. And be careful on putting never on anything. I was like, I will never. And before you knew it, I was building a new space. I was building a new brand. I had rebranded. I had did another new LLC. I got away from everything. And as I started getting away from them things, guess what else I had to get away from? So please listen to this one carefully. I had to get away from the people and the things that wanted to keep me attached to the thing that was hurting me. So when customers would come on in and keep saying, are you sure you want to do that? Remember what happened last time? I stopped servicing them when they would not stop that conversation. Because see, I was trying to turn the chapter and they wouldn't let me. They had to go. If there was a person around me, friend or foe, some of them are foes now, and they're like, are you sure you know what you're doing or whatever? And yet I was trying to turn the chapter, they had to go. People who said he wanted to sit around me and be like, oh girl, I saw such and such, this is what she was doing. You have to go. People wanted to tag me on social media and things in which she was done. They had to go. I had to unfollow her. Because every now and then I would check on in and see, has she got somebody else? And it would tear me up inside when somebody who I placed in her chair was there. It was a picture. She had to go. Everything that meant anything around what happened to me had to go, had to leave. And anybody who didn't understand that, I now was reading and I was taking care of myself and I'm going, it was like elimination. I remember I get into, and I don't even know what book it is. There was a chapter in the book I remember. It was in my life coaching book. It was about elimination. And I remember saying elimination. And it was like, if you are serious about making a change, if you're serious about turning the chapter, you have to eliminate all things in the past chapter to get to the new one. Anything that does not serve you good in your new season has to go. You got to write that thing down. What is not serving you your purpose any longer? Who's not speaking life to you anymore? Because if you're going to keep them things around you, you're going to stay in the hell you're in. So I started writing them down. And guess what, y'all? Some of them were things and people that were very close to me. They had to go. Because every time I try to turn and try to rebuild or pay something or reinvest or go into a new season or try to pull my life back together, they constantly doubt. Are you sure? Have you forgot? I'm trying to. I'm trying to move on. People wouldn't even make appointments with me to come see how I was doing when they knew she was over there in the other yard. They would come by, get their things done, and then say, how are you feeling? Keep in mind, this time, I'm very known. I'm doing things in Essence, Sophisticated Black Hair. I'm out on sets. I'm doing things. So now they want to come back and see and come back and forth between. And I had to start saying, I wrote a list of names that I had to tell. If you bring your whole behind in here one more time and you mention this and you don't just get your hair done, this is going to be your last time, because I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to heal. You got to go. And do you know that everybody on that list did not stop? Every person on the list that I said, if you do not stop this, you will not get an appointment. You will be gone. And I had a deposit system. You had to make a deposit. So if I saw your name on the deposit list, you got a refund. Because what I had to do is become more attached to where I was going in my new future. That at one point I was seeing there was no future because somebody took something from me. You hurt me. And I didn't want to be hurt anymore. So y'all had to go. You had to go. And I kept building and I kept building and I kept building and I kept building. And then that's the thing that I always tell people, what you do in private, you hear this, what you do in private shows up publicly. What you do in private shows up publicly. So then here came all the accolades and all the awards and all this thing. And I'm like, oh, wow. Wow, here all this stuff goes through. But I had to change to get that. Number 4. And this one's going to be real good. And I'm going to break this one down for you. If you want to be serious about your change, you have to get a role model. You need a role model. At this time frame, who is the role model you need to see? You need to see the person. Guess what role model you need? It's not just, okay, I want to do this in business, I'm going to go follow you. If you've been broken, you need a role model of somebody who's been broken, who has made it. You need to watch them. You need to see how they did it. How did they get over? And I started watching people, the people who which are around, I won't name them because this is recorded, that they had people that took things from them. That they have gone through where their whole thing has been wiped out, or they have been bankrupt from something and they had come through. Them were the only people that I wanted to watch. That was it. Because in the time frame in which I was feeling weak and I felt like maybe it wasn't going to happen, they were a constant reminder in my life that on the other side of this, there is joy. I know I'm trying to rebuild and I'm sitting here and I'm crying and I'm rebuilding and I'm doing all these additional things. But you, my dear or sir, are a reminder that I can make it too. So I had to keep watching those people over and over and over. They became my role models. And guess what? If they didn't, this was not in a social media era, so I had to get around them in the room. I had to get on a plane and go fly and go sit with you. And they didn't, some of them didn't know me. After a while, some people did because they saw my face often and they wanted to ask questions, and then I would share and I would break all the way down and out, and they would tell me to hold my head up high. See and then I remember this. I was told by someone, where's the fighting stance? What is a fighting stance? When somebody's getting ready to fight, they are upright. And again, I won't share this name. This person shared with me, to fight, my dear, you have to stay in this fighting stance. Every time I turn around, you all slumped over, you crying, you whatever. You can't fight like that. You're going to get your A whooped. You have to start standing up. You have to, I don't care how much this isn't okay with you, stand up, keep walking, keep going. And eventually that will become your posture, and it was. But that took some time. And when I tell y'all some time, I'll tell you it took me a couple years. And the reason why it took me a couple years is because I stayed in my pain for a couple years. The longer you stay in pain, could you imagine if you're laying in the bed and you're ailing for a long period of time, you stay in pain a long period of time? And that's why I stayed a long period of time. So I even tell people, when I took that weight off in anger. I was punching bags out of pissed off frustration, and I wasn't going to let nobody control me anymore. So I almost hate that process, but it was a process. It was what it was. Here's another one. Say, for instance, your role model, and I read this in a book somewhere. Say, for instance, you can't get to your role model, or you can't find it. They said that sometimes we don't realize, if you're made in God's image, and this was a spiritual book much I read, if you're made in God's image and God is almighty, what makes you think he has not downlighted almighty in you? And I was like, wow, that's deep. But I didn't see it. At this time of reading this, I didn't see myself as almighty. So I was like, but how? Well, what you need to do is you need to roll back and remember the last time you've been through something. Did you make it? Ask yourself this question. These were the two questions I was to ask myself. what's the toughest thing that you've been through prior to that event of crisis? And then what pulled you through? And y'all, remember when I was going, and so pre that crisis, I had 3 kids under 30. My daughter, because I had to work, y'all are so fortunate in these businesses, staying at home with kids and got us something where you can stay. I did not have that. So with my last child, I had an emergency cesarean, and I had to go back to work with 3 kids in 4 weeks. I couldn't even finish out the whatever because the money wasn't there. So I had to go to work. So I'm standing and I'm feeling like I'm being pulled to the ground while I'm steady, constantly working, right? And then I remembered at that time, it was like, how did you make it through that? I had to. Like I had to feed my kids. I had to take care of everything that I had. I had to remember, even though I wasn't necessarily at that period of life steady going into service, I remember where all blessings come from. So if I had to keep on calling on, that's what I had to do. And then I remembered, oh my God, then they asked you to fast forward. Did you do that in that crisis, in the next crisis? You always learn from failure just as much as you do from success. So in that failure, did you adopt your survival techniques? I did not. I ran. I got pissed. I cursed everybody out. Anybody who knew something about it, everybody in the world. I did not do my survival techniques that I had learned in the past crisis because I didn't know that I was mighty. I didn't know that person that did that could make it through this. So I hadn't connected the two. I hadn't learned those things yet. But then I had in the new season read this thing that said, you are made in his image. You are mighty. He has downloaded everything into you. Your abilities to do everything I've given you. It even tells you when you go into ministry or you go into pastor, don't wait for just the pastor has prayed over you, but you can pray over yourself. You ever heard that? Things ain't going right. I can pray over myself because he has made you mighty. But if you don't see yourself that way, you will stay in something. You ain't got no business coming through, not realizing he's downloaded this into you. He downloaded this into you. So when I read that, I was like, oh, wow. So I'm equipped. I'm equipped. I just need to go to and ask. Did I go to and ask? Did he tell me to close that business? No. But when you was in your last crisis, you were calling on me. You were asking me to help. That's how you got through 4 weeks. That's how you grew your brand, your business. You had a survival technique that worked, but you didn't realize it. So what was your last thing? How did you make it through? You got a crisis going on right now. What are your techniques? What are they? You've been equipped with them. Your lifespan in which you've been given is for a reason. We all get different things. So too many times, if you're taking some time, and I feel like I need to say this at this moment, if you're taking the time to watch what everyone else is doing, you're watching someone else's movie. That's what's downloaded into their life, their struggle, what they got to go through. I got women for a reason. Hating on me from the time I was a kid, one friend for a reason to take me out from the message I'm supposed to give. Y'all see how every single time something happens, y'all, when I promoted, I get sick every single time. Can't talk, voice will go deep, it goes on out. There's something and a reason why I'm here. So if I wasn't strong enough to stay past that, what keeps trying to take me out, I cannot do my design because that's my design. But if another person sits back and says, oh, but I wish I could do that, that's not your design. That's not your design. That's not why you're here. That's not what you're supposed to do. Y'all don't want to be teaching that. Maybe you don't want to teach 50,000 people and 100. I want you to really hear me on that. Like really hear to get why you came, get what you came for. Make sure you understand your design and what you're supposed to be doing. And don't compare you to nobody. Because we all get a different story. Number 5, and this is the last one that I had to learn to get over. Are you ready for this one? Because that is the beautiful story in today. Is you have to learn to get over it. You have to learn to give more than you receive. If you want to get over something and you have to take your focus off of your own pain and your own problem and go help somebody else. The more that you find that you're helping, and let me tell you this, the more that you find you're helping someone else, you want to know what the real blessing and the real understanding of helping somebody else is? You get to physically see change. You get to learn change can occur. Okay, so if somebody is hungry and you feed them, you learn there's an answer to it. The more you go and you go do it with somebody else, the more you do it, the more you learn that this is temporary. This is a chapter. This isn't permanent. But am I making my chapter permanent? However old you are, you're not gone. It's only a portion of your story. It's not all of it. It's a portion of your story. It's not all of it. Here's the beautiful thing that I want you to understand too, from the past in which you come from. Okay? Ask yourself this other question. How are you better today because of what happened? How are you better? Because I'll tell you this. Have y'all ever noticed when y'all have questions for me, there's not a question that I normally go, well, no. What I learned is by having my back against the wall as much as I did, I became so resourceful that that's how I built that 7-figure brand. If my back wasn't against the wall, I would have quit. Y'all, if you ain't used to being stretched, if you ain't used to shopping from your parents' refrigerator, if you're not used to coming from the projects, if you're not used to not having, if you're not used to losing $60,000 salary and coming from $14,000 to $400, if you ain't used to that, when it happened and you ain't came out of it, it can take you out. It can take you all the way out. Oh my God, what is going on? I'm not used to this. That's usually what happens if you really research when people are given everything. And then something goes just a little bit wrong and they ain't used to fixing nothing. They don't know how to do it. It's the same thing with babies. When babies haven't had any bacteria or anything in their system, then they all of a sudden can get flu that kills them because they haven't been exposed to nothing. They haven't had anything. So how much better have you become because of your pain? Now that's hard. That takes a whole nother level of growth to see. Takes a whole nother level of growth to see. That same girl, I talked to her. I talk to her now. I still don't follow her because I just don't want that season to come. I don't even want nobody talking about it. It was even a lot for me to decide if I even wanted to bring this on up because I'm so far away from it. Y'all, guys, we are talking 15 years ago. I'm so far away from it. I've grown in so many different areas of seasons, but it's sometimes nice to go back and do checks and balances. So now to be able to know that I could do this, but I wasn't sure if I was going to break down and cry, and I had no idea because I've not told this full story just sitting here. Like, I don't know. Like I haven't. And again, there's more. There's more. However, I am so happy at this moment of knowing that is the reason why everything in which I've been through is the reason why, even as I share with you all entrepreneurship skills, or even as I teach you things and I tell you certain things, or here is what's to be expected, or I even just share with my team today, guess what? You ain't gonna get your next level until you suffer in private. Did you hear that? You're not going to get your next level until you suffer in private. Because guess what? There's some things you got to work out. There's some things that have to hurt you. There's some things that have to break you. So therefore, you will be ready for the new thing that I'm actually going to place on you. That new thing. And that's what's supposed to keep on happening. Guess what? That new thing that's coming. That new thing is coming. It's more that's coming behind it. So guess what? In your season right now, If there is something that you're still going through, that you're still holding on to, that you still need to be able to get on into the next level, guess what? We got to set some new visions. We got to set some new goals. Where are we going now? Where are we visiting now? You've been hurt. You've been frustrated. You've been broken. But yet, because you can't let this one thing go, do you want to stay here? Is this how you want to end? Is this how you want to expire? In order to get to that next level, guess what? It's a decision. It's a decision. I'm tired. I'm sick of it. I don't want it anymore. It's that simple. We make decisions. We say, are we going to deal with this or are we not? And until we understand that it's truly the power is within us. The power is within you. And your decision on where you say, hey, I am ready for this over here. I'm not going to be held to what has happened to me. I'm going to cause a different change because of it. Literally because I lost, I'm going to win. I'm going to see myself on the other side. I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to write some different stories. I'm going to get rid of some things right now that are not serving me. My frustration and my anger and my being pissed off and my crying about it. Sometimes you need to have a cleansing cry. Cleansing cries are amazing. But if you're just crying about it and don't want to do anything about it, then you're saying, this is where I'm going to stay. Your actions are saying, this is where I'm going to stay. But you don't have to. You just don't have to. You just have to decide, this is enough. I don't want this anymore. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see things as they are right now. I'm going to call out everything that has happened to me. I'm going to just talk about what was factually what was there. Then I'm going to get real with the truth of actually what happened. Because guess what? What I told you is the truth will set you free, but it's going to piss you off first. So I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to buck up. I'm going to deal with what it is, and I'm going to make myself some changes. I'm going to get a vision, and I'm going to get strong within my vision. And I'm going to turn this whole thing around. I'm going to rebuild in a new way, because I'm going to come back differently than what I was before, because I am someone who can affirm myself to say, I can learn from my mistakes. And I can go into a totally different direction. And guess what? I'm going to start manning on up or womaning on up to say a new one is coming. But guess what? I made it in the past and I'm going to make it next time. I made it last time. I'm going to make it again. Your business ain't going the way that you want to, and it used to be great. What you going to rebuild with it? What are you going to rebuild? What are you going to do differently? What are you going to sit down and say and do a new vision for? Because it's your decision that I'm not staying here. And it's this simple. Just so you know this. I've helped numerous people this way. It's this simple. Oh, but I want to. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the things that don't serve us. So who we letting go? What thoughts are we letting go? What are you watching that you need to stop watching? Who told you to keep watching? And I see people do this. Who told you to keep watching hell? The same thing that's frustrating and pissing. Why are you watching that? Why are you checking in on it to see what it's doing? Why do you even know what it's doing next? Has someone left you? Why do you know what they're still doing? They're gone. They still have a piece of your life, and they're gone. Let them go. They left you, let them go. Let it go. What are you reading? What are you talking to? Seriously, and I'm just going to stay in this space. Like, what is still around you that has to go? Is it feeding? Oh, I'm going to find this thing. Is it feeding the problem? I know exactly what it said. I read this one thing that said, you know how it says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper? I read this one thing that said, are you the weapon formed against you, allowing you not to prosper? That was so good. I was like, oh yeah, because so many times we're sitting here and we're doing all the things that are not self-serving to us moving on, to us going to next level, to us getting the new thing that we are supposed to have. And I stay there because in that season of removal, that was the hardest season I had. That was my personal hardest season because I was so tempted to go back and see what they were doing, what they were saying, and did I need to prepare myself a little bit more? No, was it more coming my way? Do I need? Man, that was the hardest thing. I'm sharing for you. That was the hardest season of my life, was to just let that thing go, because it was killing me. And that's when that was the season where I was taking Xanax. And then it got to a place where I said, you know what? This is a man-made pill. I didn't come into this world taking Xanax. Why am I taking Xanax? You want to know why? They tell me to take it before a problem. Really? I've had other problems. I wasn't taking this before. Where have I lost my power now? Those are questions I had to ask. Where have I lost some things here? You know why I'm steady taking Xanax? So let me show you. You want to know why you're steady popping the pill? Because you're steady checking in with people. You're steady wondering what people have to say, what they're desiring. You're steady thinking that your future or wherever you're going to go, you have so much fear about if you do it again. Here's another one, huge. What if I get hurt again? What if I get hurt again? And I had to write that in a journal for myself. Like, oh my God, what do I do if this mess goes on again? Then fear settled in again. And then here I was taking more pills. And then I had to say, okay, watch the movie that you tell yourself. Because just as I told myself that story of what happens if it happens again, what happens if it doesn't? Why not say that story? I had to keep on saying that to myself. What happens if it doesn't? What happens if this is the time you win? What happens if this is the time you make it? What happens if this is the time this is over? What happens if this is the time you don't cry about it anymore? What happens if this time you better than last time? What happens if it doesn't happen? So I share with you those 5, and then number 5, getting the role. Number 4 was getting the role model, and number 5 was give more than you can receive. So therefore, you can start learning that things do not stay the same; they can change. That's literally what giving is. You get a chance to see every time you give to somebody else. And what I started to go on work on, because women was mine. Are you ready for this one? I was like, I am going to coach as many of them as I can. Like, y'all just know, like women. I'm gonna coach as many women as I can. I'm gonna pour into them as many as, I don't care what was taken from me. I'm gonna give as much as I possibly can. I'm gonna jump on every training I can. I'm gonna teach everything I got. You wanna know why? Because ain't nothing, I don't want anything to have a hold over me. Nothing anymore. I remember what that bondage felt like, and I do not desire it for another person. So that's why I'm so proud of myself that I was able to tell that full dang on story. And I felt a little hot. I may be sweating. But there wasn't a time that I wanted to break down. It doesn't mean cry. If I would have cried, that was different. But I remember there was a time when I couldn't even finish talking. It was just too painful. So hopefully this is a level of inspiration for you, if that you keep working on yours. If you take these same things, this is what I've done, this is what I teach, this is what's in books of life coaching, of teaching you how to get over. How to get over a crisis, how to get over something that has happened that is holding on to you so you can't move. You ever seen the old person at the club? You ever seen the old person at the club? Don't know they ain't 20 no more. Dressed like they still 20. Just can't let it go. You wanna know why? There is a portion in their life that something happened and occurred that they're holding on to. That was a happy point or whatever, and they did not grow past it. Like maybe at this point in time, maybe 19 with 20, 21 was real good. So now I'm gonna hold on to this season, and they never let that area go, so they never grow. It is not guaranteed that, because you know how people say with getting older comes wisdom. That's not necessarily true. I've met some dumb old fools. I'm sure we all have. I mean, it's because they would not change. They wouldn't. They would not decide that this was it. You know what? I'm going to be okay with where I'm going. You know what? The other side of where I'm going is actually beautiful. Not seeing the side of where I'm going is, whoo! I hear so many people go, that will have a bad situation happen and then just become so damned and just go, I don't know, it ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna stop right here. I'll tell you in your chart. Have you got to a space in your chart where you stuck? Or you're just like, I don't know, it ain't gonna happen. So you mean to tell me that everybody else, think about what you're saying to yourself. So you mean to tell me that everybody else can have what you can't have? That's damning. Be careful. I always tell people, all of my training, be gentle on yourself. Be gentle with that. Because there's no such thing. We get what we apply ourselves to. If you want this over, decide it's over. Do some work on it. Set the new tone. What is it? Where are you going? Forgive what happened. Forgive for you. Have you ever heard that? You're really forgiving and letting things go for you so you can be okay. Do you know how much it takes to be mad? You ever notice what it looks at with you and your physiology? You ever see how it is? You're stressed, you're clenched, you're tight. You stay saying, I need a massage. Think about tug of war. You holding on to it and you pulling and you yanking and you yanking and you yanking and you yanking. How much good does it go to just let the rope go? Let it go. Forgive for you. And then move on. Set that pace, set that tone. Change the actions of what has occurred. You do have that power. And I remember when I didn't think that I did, and my goodness, going through pain and sorrow and brokenness, I already know new things are coming and new things are going to occur. But just from my past and what it is that I went through and I've acquired and made it through and on the other side and still doing well and knowing that I'm going to fall and I'm going to get back up, they don't feel the same. I'm not telling you that they don't hurt. They just don't feel the same. Because I go, okay, this is a chapter. That's it. It's just a chapter. It's not in until I'm in the ground. This is just a chapter. I can still change it. This is just a chapter. I can still change it. Only thing that you can't change is when you're gone. That's the only final thing in your life, is when you're called home. So I normally in my trainings ask for people to like turn on cameras and stuff like that. I did not do that today, so you do not have to, because I know I'll share with you a personal share. This came. I don't do a lot of life coachings and video trainings. I usually do them personally, one-on-one. That's my calling. If somebody asks me for something, I can go in. You know, like I'll get to talking and be like, hey, this is what you need. However, a lot of you all have reached out to me in my inbox, in messages or whatever. And I want y'all to know it's a lot of you all that are going through the same thing, which is why I decided to share. It's a lot of you going through the exact same thing. So when I ask you about role models or things of that nature, or even just going through things with another sister, there's so many of you out here. For me to have put together time out of my time to come do this, I'm not doing this out of vain. Ain't nobody paid me for this. This has to be a give. For me to do this, I'm telling you, it's a lot of you all that have, and I take all of that. I don't take that lightly that somebody reaches out to me and wants to talk to me. I don't. And that's why people are like, oh, you responded. Thank you. I do try. Some people I miss. But I do try to respond back. Just know it is a lot of you all. So I do try to respond back. But I said, you know what? Actually yesterday, I was like, this is the last person who won't tell me this, and they're suffering in silence and smiling at everybody. Like they're smiling, walking around, coming around you all the time, and you have no idea that they're suffering in silence. And I remember what that was like. And I remember those thought processes that were going through my head. And if I had not just got blessed, if God had just not said, this is not, no, she has more. You know, if he had not done that, I don't know what I would have done in those seasons. I was thinking very ill. I have no idea. So I'm telling how to do this because I would just feel horrible if somebody, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel. And I would feel so bad if somebody did not have access to this, just listen to understand how to undo it. And even too, if you need help with these, and maybe you need to speak with a coach, a life coach, you need to talk to somebody because it's really that deep, then you should. You totally should. You may not be. I remember when I wanted to lose that weight, and I went, everybody else going to go get surgeries and things of that nature. And I was just like, I want to go, and I couldn't. I wanted to take the one pill that solved everything. And then I was all in the hospital every time you turn around. Now I look back and I realize what he was really trying to show me was, in your seasons in which I designed, if you realize where it is that I'm taking you, baby girl, your discipline needs work. Your discipline needs work. So if I let you go get on this plane and go fly and go do this, you'll never learn the discipline to go and speak to the masses the way that I have called you to. You'll never be able to teach anybody anything. Do you see how I would have cut my right foot off? Because how could I teach you discipline if I didn't learn discipline? How could I teach you how to get over something if I hadn't been through it? How can I teach you how to boss babe button up a business if I didn't come from zero to nothing? How can I tell you to stay in the game, it gets better, if I didn't stay in the game because it got better? How could I have done any of those? Me running away from all that would have not put together what is here today. And what is here today is because of all of the stuff that happened in my private season. And there's more that's coming. I already can feel it. I already can see it. I just breathe. So I appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. I will be uploading. So somebody wanted to know, hopefully this ain't the training where my face is going. Hopefully it isn't. I appreciate you all. You are very welcome. Y'all, I do go back, just so you know this, I do go back and read these. Melissa on here teaches me a lot. She taught me how to go back and read my train. I didn't know how to do that, so I do. And out of reading, though, just so you know, I do come back and I see it. That formulates my curriculums. Like when I would teach hair, that's what did it. It was the questions that people asked. That was what I did. So it's the questions that you ask. It's the inboxes that you say. It's things like I could tell you now, consistency is something that people have been asking about. How leadership is huge. Like how to lead, how to stay in the game, how to balance. Like time management is another one. I get a lot of. So that's why y'all always are like, your information is so fire because it's coming from you. And that's one thing that I learned just in building my business, that in building my business, it's not about you. It's about other people. It's about what they want. If they don't want the music up high and that's who's paying you, you turn the music down low. Like that's how I learned how to build. So even in this, I learned how to output per what people were asking of me, how to do that. Alrighty, so I'm going to read over this. They're good. I see all the thank yous and I appreciate that. I will totally keep all the stuff going. Whatever's needed, I'm always one of those. Whatever you need, people ask me to do something, what do you need? Just let me know. If I can provide it, I can provide it. If I can't, I can point you in a different direction. I can't do all things, but I can do a lot.